Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are watching this webinar. Thank you for your time. My name is Tomáš Nedvorsky. I'm Senior Technical Specialist for Architecture, Engineering, Construction in AUTODESK, sitting in Prague and being responsible for Eastern Europe. The goal of this webinar is to introduce BIM 360 as a common data environment platform, basically as a collaboration platform for architecture, engineering, and construction companies. So without any delay, I will start my presentation. Why we believe that the coordination and collaboration is important. We can see a lot of urbanization at this point of time. So people are moving to the cities and we have to build a lot of new buildings and a lot of new roads. And the truth is that there is new jobs coming up, but not too many people joining, and more companies have to work together to be able to finish this job with less resources. What we can also see are BIM mandates. BIM mandates in Eastern Europe, we can see as a state level. So some states, some companies, some countries are trying to establish BIM mandates. However, at this point, we see more BIM mandates from either investor perspective coming up or from construction companies. And what we really can see at this point of time is distributed project teams. What does it mean? People are not anymore sitting next door to each other. They are not even sitting in different rooms. They are sitting in different buildings. They are sitting in different cities and even in different countries. And they need to collaborate. Basically, what they need is they need to have the latest information available immediately and being able to react on the changes. So this is why. And I can tell you that I still can see that the collaboration is a challenge. If I am going to the companies, they are still struggling with coordination. And what we are offering is a solution where people can collaborate not only on engineering data. They can really collaborate in a true way as on one source of the truth on 2D or 2D drawings or 3D models. And we can collect entire workflow from very beginning till the very end. What I mean is from the very beginning, from the designing through construction up to handover and commissioning of the project. And I am not right now going to the many details, but the important really is to realize how if people can collaborate on latest data, how much work they can change with rework and so on and so forth. So I will start with the architecture of BIM 360. What we have are project data. Project data are stored in cloud and people can access it. So, and it is not only the storage, I will come into later, but what you should realize, it's also storage with functionality, important functionality which enables really architecture and engineering companies to collaborate. And on the top of this, we have different modules. We have module for design, that basically which is dedicated for designing companies, making design and enabling them really true collaboration on the project. Then we have a module for pre-construction, where people can check clash detection, they can make coordination of the project between different teams and to create what we call error-free model. And we have module for construction, where construction company can gather information from the construction side, analyze it, and basically proceed with the construction much faster and also to learn for the next projects. And on the what is also important is that these tools are really connected with our products. So what we have on very, let's say, very bottom level is that we can connect any of our tool with project data, with basically cloud, using what we call desktop connector, which is part of this solution for the project data. And on the top of this, what we can also offer to our customers is analytics, analysis and insight to the project. What does it mean? For example, manager can have a look and can have a quick view what's happening with the project, where they are, if there are some delays, if some people are really working well and on time, and if some people are really also, not only people, but also, of course, companies, subcontractors, if they are in delay with responses and so forth. And what we also have is Autodesk Forge. Autodesk Forge is API, basically programming interface, where third parties can collaborate and can create their own application on the top of the data of on cloud. This is something which we believe in Autodesk that why we are also successful is not only because we have state-in-art solution, but also we are enabling third parties to create their own solution on the top of our solution. So really what we believe, we are offering unique collaboration platform for entire life cycle of the project and for many different teams. So and let's have a look how it's constructed, what are the solutions. So the project data, basically the basic module, it's called BIM CSS docs. The designing piece, the designing module is called BIM CSS design. Module for pre-construction is called BIM CSS coordinate. And part or module for construction companies is called BIM CSS build. And the goal now is to talk more about BIM CSS docs, about the platform. It was mentioned in the top in the topic of this webinar. And so let's have a look what BIM CSS docs can offer to you. So as I mentioned already in the previous slides, it's not only storage, but it's storage with many different functionality. And now I will just introduce some of them very quickly, and then I will go deeper. So what we are supporting is not only 2D, but also 3D. So basically, we are supporting many different formats. So we are supporting more than 60 different file formats, and we can help you to view them without installation of any software. And then you can see not only what is inside of these files, but also embedded data, which means you can see any properties or attributes which are attached to the object, which has been defined by design. What we can also do, I will jump here, versioning. What we are offering is if you are storing a new version of the model or drawing into the file, into the cloud, then we are keeping the previous versions as well. So basically, then you can very easily do change management. You can compare either drawings or 3D models, and you can see what has been created, what has been added, what has been deleted, what has been modified, and so on and so forth. We are also enabling you defining permissions, which is of course important part, that not everybody has the same access permission to the to these folders or to the project, but depending definitely on what they are doing and what they are allowed to do. We are also enabling, for example, markups and issues. So you can mark up or create issues on the drawing or on the model, and then you can communicate really in cloud, defining these elements. And of course, you can assign it to somebody, and then they have to reply you what's happening, and so on and so forth. And everything is of course stored in cloud. So basically, what we are tracking, or what you can track later on, is what was really happening with the entire model. And another example can be approval process. You have work in progress file, then it can be approved, and then it can be released. So this approval process is embedded in this model as well. So it was very quickly what's happening inside of the BIM CSS docs, and let's have a look in more details about the functionality. So If we are talking about common data environment, important are permissions. So you can define permissions, different permissions for the folders, and it's very easy user interface, very either for the users, as you can see here, or even for the role, because everybody can can be assigned as a role, can be assigned this role, and then you can define the role permissions or even company permissions, which is much easier later on for management, for IT management of the project. And we have different levels from really viewing only, basically people can only view model, up to the full control, full access rights, for example, for the administrator. So there is a wide variety of permissions which can be defined to the people, role, or companies. And what is also important, the file structure. File structure is, of course, definable by a user, or maybe not user, better said by administrator, who will define this folder structure. And it's also important to say that this folder structure, we understand it can be unified across the project. So what they can do is to create a template. They can copy template, which will create not only the structure, but also inherit the different permissions to the folders and so on and so forth. But what I want to talk right now is about two different folder structures. You can see here project files and plans. Project files are more for collaboration among the designers, because you as a designer, you know that, for example, the WG file has different paper spaces, model spaces, and so forth, so on and so forth. And you also know, for example, Revit is similar. So you have, for example, a model space, then you have some legend, you have some views on the model, and so on and so forth. So basically, what I want to say is that if you store, for example, the WG file, Revit file, or multi-page PDF file here, it will be stored as a one file. On the other hand, if you store the same file here to plans, because the plans are dedicated more for collaboration with the construction file, and on the construction file, people, they don't know what is inside of Revit file. So what will happen, so if you store the Revit file here, system will automatically extract each view or each model which you will define, which one it will be, to one separate model, or better said, to one separate document, that later on the construction site, people will really see, okay, this is the section in of the building, or it's a layout construction plan of level 3, and so on and so forth. Basically, then they are really working with different layouts as a separate file or separate document, and it's much easier for them to understand what's going on. So what we are also supporting, as I already mentioned, is either 2D or 3D model. And if you are working with Revit, for example, file, then these views are really connected. So basically, you know what's happening in 2D or 3D, and you can view it at the same time. But what is important, as I already mentioned, you have more than 60 different formats which we are supporting. And it's not only Autodesk formats. We are also supporting exchange formats like IFC. And we are also, where it's possible, we are supporting the formats of our competitors, like, for example, DGN. And I already mentioned as well, so we are supporting embedded data. So basically, each object is connected with some attributes, and these attributes can be viewed, and you can see within web browser. It's important to mention we are working at this point in web browser, so all the data can be viewed by even a non-designer. You don't need to have any Revit or AutoCAD, whatever is the file format, but as we are enabling viewing the files, you can access all information available. And I also mentioned that you can start to work with markups. So you can see that you can put a markup on the drawing, and the markup can be either private or public. So it can be only for you, or it can be publicly available for people. And you can view who created it, when created, and so on, so forth. And you can do it on 2D model or 3D model. It's really up to you wherever you want to do this. And of course, you can later on track what's happening, who did it, why did it, and then at the end you can close it. You can attach, or maybe you want to attach some more information to the markup that you are available, that these are available for later use. And these files can be, of course, stored in cloud, and then it's available for everybody. And if you are talking about markups, it's what I call a non-addressable. So basically, you are making markup, and it's for you or for everybody, but nobody will receive notification. While if we are talking about issues, this is what I call addressable. So you will define who is the owner, and then what does it mean that and who you are assigning it to, which means that if you are assigning to somebody, then the person or the role or the company will receive automatically email notification that some issue has been assigned to them. And you can also define due date, which means the date when the person has to react on your issue, and if not, so then in inside module it will be visible in red that these guys didn't reply on a timely manner. So, and of course it has entire life cycle, different statuses, so it can be created and then answered, and at the end of the day you can archive these issues. As I mentioned, we are creating different versions. So as soon as you are storing a new file, it can be 2D or 3D model. So we are creating new version, and they can compare. Then you can compare different versions. So basically, you can see what are the changes. And of course, if we are talking about 2D, it's not very clever. So you can make some overlay, and then you can visually compare it. While if we are talking about 3D intelligent BIM model, then of course, system can recognize what has been added, what has been removed, or what has been modified. And you can see the differences between two versions. For example, which windows has been added or deleted or modified. It doesn't have to be really moved. Only if you change attributes, then the system will recognize it's modified, and you can very easily see what the modifications are without, again, and it's important, without having any Revit installed on your machine. You can compare Revit files this way, for example. Approval process, another very useful functionality which is available on this basic BIM Assisted Docs module. So you can set up as an admin, you can set up an admin, you can set up an approval process. It can be 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps approval process, and then a user can initialize reviewing process. He will select with from predefined approval processes, and he can of course work with one file or many file, and then he can send this set of files or one file to the approval, which later on can approve it or reject it, and then all the answers are visible in system. It is approved or not, and why not. Of course, he can add notes, he can put issues, and basically he can use any of available functionality to communicate why he approved it, or maybe better said, why he didn't approve that model or file back to the initiator. And using BIM 360, because it's cloud solution, it can be available anytime, anywhere, which means it can be available on your mobile device. We are supporting iOS and Android, and you can take all files to the field, and then of course you can work with this. What is important also to mention that we can work offline. So basically you can pre-download files which you think that you will be needed on construction site, and then you can without having really good connection, you can work with these files on site, and then later on when you come back to your office, there is a good internet connection, you can synchronize it. But of course, if you have a good connection on the construction site, no problem to have all information really online and being available on your mobile devices. And of course, you can create markups, you can create issues, you can compare the model. So basically, you have selected functionality available on your mobile device, and you can work with this. And of course, I'm talking about usually about DWG file or Revit file, but please imagine that you can store any what I call engineering file. It can be PDF, it can be Word document, it can be just picture from the construction site. All this information can be stored and viewed on our platform for later use. And of course, you can basically link different files together to have really clear understanding when you made the picture that is related to this issue, it's related to this project, to this model, to this file, and so on and so forth. So it's really up to you how you will link files together. And what is also important to mention, because we are receiving a lot of questions, and what about the security? How, what will happen if the system doesn't work, and so on and so forth. So what we want to be as much transparent as possible. So basically what we have health dashboard available for any customer, and you can see for different services, what is the current status of the services available, and then you can also see entire history. And if there is any issue, we are clearly marking it up. You can see what's happening, and if you go there and it's not secret, you can just type health dashboard Autodesk. You can see what was the history of any available module or cloud services, and you can see history. And if there is in history some, let's say, inconsistency, or better said that it doesn't work, it's usually due to the fact that we have some maintenance scheduled, which is definitely communicated with the people, and you can see that OK services maybe wasn't available or depreciated for 10 minutes also. And we have also security white paper, basically, because the system is really certified for different ISOs and SOC or certificates. You can see all of them. You can download security white paper, and you can see all certification. And basically, you can find a lot of information as far as security are concerned. And what are the benefits? As a cloud solution, you can have access anytime, anywhere, and it's really one single source of truth. It's really that we are not working only with files, but all communication which normal people are exchanging emails. They are exchanging emails that somebody is keeping some Excel sheet, keeping track what has been answered, what not. So here we are really having everything in one repository. You can track what's happening, and you can really have a proof that somebody is not answering to you. And basically, if something really goes wrong on the project, you have a really reliable source of truth to prove who is wrong as far as something is concerned. And obviously, it's more efficient because you can have it anytime, anywhere, and you can watch it based on different permissions. And we can reduce really server and IT costs because all data are stored in cloud. And what is important to say, we are not limiting you on space, on storage size. So you can store any data on a server, And obviously, if you don't have to set up servers, we are saving not only hardware, but also IT cost as far as maintenance is concerned. We are keeping entire history, versions, and communication history on the projects. You can really perform design review with different stakeholders. What is really important that you are bringing together not only designers, but who are having really authoring software like AutoCAD or Revit. But we are really bringing together anybody who is supposed to communicate on the project, and they don't need to install anything. We will give them just permission for viewing, and they can view, they can mark up, and so on and so forth. And really, we are supporting very wide variety of file types. And as I mentioned, not only AUTODESK file types like DWG or Revit or DWF, but we are supporting different, say, exchange formats like IFC or DXF, and also when we could do this from legal perspective, even competition file formats like VGM, because we have agreement with Bentley to do that. So this is in brief what is BIM Assisted Docs about. Thank you, and wish you happy trying, enjoy the software or services, and I believe it will help you in your job. Thank you.